Michael Jackson, Derek Jeter, Richard Gere, the actor, or The Wizard of Oz, put him up. Denzel Washington, Bruno Mars, The Weeknd, Joe Girardi of the Yankees, and Andre the Giant, the old wrestler. Like Tom Collins, if you hang around a barbershop long enough, you're bound to get a haircut. That feels pretty darn good. Listen, I don't know how to DJ, and can you teach me? And you can't swing your headphones by the cord and not hit somebody juiced up and excited. You're gonna make your own casserole. You can go buy meat from this butcher, and you can go buy chicken from this place. But let the chips fall where they may, right? Let me give you the sort of secret sauce that I use. I want the little nicks and crannies and the scrapes and the smell of the paint. Follow the T roller coaster. I have 2 phones. So would you want a copy of the Mona Lisa on the wall? No, do your thing. Do your thing, man.
Welcome to episode 18 of DJ Center Stage TV. I'm Jim Collins. He's an MC, voice of God, speaker, DJ, and owner of Ace Music, serving the entertainment industry for 27 years. He has offices in New York, Florida, and Connecticut. He's worked with the New York Yankees, New York Knicks, and a list of Fortune 100 firms providing high-energy, engaging DJ and MC services. He's also part of a live stream community and has interviewed the world's #1 life and business coach, Tony Robbins, where you can find the interview on YouTube. Welcome, Anthony Conklin, to the show.
Hey, Jim. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome having you here. Can you share how you got your start in the DJ business?
Wow. Well, first of all, anybody can get into the DJ business, but you have to be an entertainer to really be in the entertainment business. I mean, we all have labels. So I got into the DJ business probably as an outgrowth of wanting to be the center of attention. I think part of my, I think it all started in my 4th grade, The Wizard of Oz play, when I played the Lion in The Wizard of Oz. Oh, cool. And there's a part where you do put 'em up part. I don't know if some of your viewers may remember Wizard of Oz's portion where he says, put 'em up, I want to fight you. And I kind of took on that role personally. And I remember very vividly doing that scene. And then all of a sudden I got this standing ovation. Now imagine, this 4th grader getting a standing ovation. I'm like, that feels pretty darn good. What else can I do to get a standing ovation? And then all my time through grammar school and up until middle school, I was in the play, several plays in school, and I really enjoyed it. And I just had this thing about music. So my mother was a ballet dancer. So there's music in my family, and I just enjoyed dancing. And it wasn't until I got into probably, I think it was maybe I was 15 or 16 years old, I realized, this dancing thing's pretty good. Now, if I could just control the music that I like to dance to, that would be even better. So I started hanging out with we didn't have teen dances back then. So I started hanging out. We had local Elks clubs and Italian Civic Center Association dances. And I wanted to see what I can do to manipulate the music and the dancing together. So one night, I actually snuck into a nightclub. For those of you who might remember, there's a place in Mount Vernon called Hoops. That was the big place back then. I snuck in and I hung out with the DJ. The big Technique 1100 platters. I mean, this goes way back. So for some of the millennials who are watching this, these are real big giant turntables that cost a lot of money. And I just watched him, put music together, and I said, hey, can I try that? So I thought of the songs I liked, and he let me scratch some records, literally scratch them and ruin them in the beginning. And that kind of sparked the fire in me to saying, hey, listen, I think I can do this thing. How do I do it? And that's really where it began. Yeah,
thanks for sharing. It's good to hear, where you get your passion, how it came about too. Yeah. From a young age, at 7 years old, I performed in front of 500 people singing at a talent show. And the reaction I got from that, comparing to what you mentioned, was incredible. And the feeling, I can remember that feeling, even at 7 years old.
Yeah, I think you get to you kind of have that aha moment in your life. I ask other entertainers and speakers in this business, well, how did you get into it? And they said, what was your aha moment? And I remember very vividly a couple of the speakers I spoke to said, well, this happened in my life when I turned 18. This happened in my life when my best friend passed away, or it was something life changing. Tony Robbins said to me, he said, it wasn't one aha moment, it was many aha moments, and I kind of fall in the middle. For me, it was sort of the aha moment of being on stage in The Wizard of Oz, and then it was dancing, and then there's manipulating the music, and then dancing in the music, and then, by the way, I like to talk to people. So it was kind of multiple aha moments. So I think a lot of DJs today, like to do it because it's a cool thing to do. But as entertainers, and I know, Jim, you're a very well-respected entertainer, it's about entertaining people and using the tools such as music and such as your voice to give that full entertainment experience. I always feel nervous before I introduce a bar mitzvah kid or a bride and groom, or whether it be introducing, Derek Jeter, or introducing Richard Gere, the actor, or members of the New York Knicks, or even introducing, little Joey for his, for his birthday party. So
Right.
I still get very nervous.
Sure.
Because I want to make sure in my head, even though I've been doing this for such a long time, and Jim, I don't know if you've experienced this as well, you still get those butterflies in your stomach. It's happy, nervous. I think it's more of an excitement rather than, am I going to do a good job? It's more of, I'm so excited to do this. Okay, let's do this. Let's rock and roll. It's like you're ready to get on stage and boom, you just feel it. So the passion has not waned at all. I mean, you had your moments, but I think for me personally, it's passion isn't something that you discover. It's something that you uncover.
Yeah.
It's there already, and it's sort of a paved road. The passion is sort of like this paved road in your life, and you have to decide whether you want to walk down that paved road or not.
I think if you lose the feeling in those butterflies, then it's time to consider new things and having that, because you're excited to do what you do as a performer, and you have care for the clients you work with. I think there's a lot of DJs out there who claim that, no, I don't get butterflies, everything's fine. And I don't know about that. I think that deep down people are concerned about it and want to do well and perform well.
Absolutely. I have a DJ that works for me right now as a contractor. He's, I think he's probably around 26, 27 years old. And he even tells me he gets butterflies. I'm like, that's a good thing. If you have butterflies, that's a good thing. That means you're really into it. You're ready to go. If you show up, and Jim, I'm sure you and I have come across some DJs in this business where it's like, okay, well, I guess I got to play this song for this couple, and you kind of lose your energy, and that comes across in your performance.
Yes.
And it affects your ability to be authentic and be passionate and be high energy and be interactive. And I think that makes a difference between, we say DJs, I know we have to label ourselves as DJs and entertainers rather than just somebody bringing a DJ controller or an iPad or some digital DJ stuff to a gig. So I think it makes a difference. I think having that passion and having that butterflies in your system constantly gets you to just, okay, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do better. It's like that staircase of success.
I love that staircase of success. Yes. And I think too, it's interesting when you're at an event, let's say there is a song that you played 100, 200 times. And you're like, oh, this song I could do without hearing a song for the rest of my life. But when you see the response you get and the energy you create from playing that song, for me, that becomes my favorite song in the moment, because I'm like, look at everybody having such an awesome time and the energy that's being created in the moments you're setting up and the emotions and all of that. So I love it, but Mike Walter talks about in performances, certain songs that he hates, but you would never know it by the look on his face because he's doing it. He's in the moment. I think it was Paradise by the Dashboard Light is one of the songs where he had all the guys line up on one side, the girls on the other side, and you would think it was his favorite song by the way he looks when he's doing it.
I think a guy like Mike, you bring up a really good point, if I can interject for a second, is that it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about your crowd. It's never about you. When you think about what you do as a DJ, and this is sort of the preachy side of me coming out. You're in this a long time, you preach a little bit, but I think, just bear with me for 5 seconds. The second you set up on stage and you click the microphone on, the second that you put your hands on the controller or your hands on your turntable, whatever your method is for playing music, the second you do it, it's never about you. It's always about your customer. It's about creating a memorable experience. It's about getting them out there, sweating their butts off, having a great time, and you get to benefit from that. But it's never about you. So I see that as one of my aha moments that gets me juiced up and excited when I perform. It's just never about you. It's always about the customer.
Absolutely. So Ace Music and serving the entertainment industry with your company. So you have offices in 3 different locations. So did it start in Connecticut?
Actually, it started in Westchester in New York. Okay. And it started in a little small office in my house. And it continued to grow. I use the term geometrically. It grew pretty fast in the beginning. I think my first gig My first professional gig was in November of 1988. I did this young man's birthday party. His name is Anthony. And I tell you this story for a reason, is that I did his first party. It was my first professional Ace Music when I went and filled out the LLC documents. So it was called Ace Musical Entertainment at the time. We shortened it to Ace Music. And that was the first gig we did. Ultimately, he became a DJ himself and now runs his own company because he was inspired by that first gig. So I just wanted to add that in because I know he's probably going to watch this broadcast. I told him, I said, I'm going to mention you because you're part of my history. So we opened up in New York, and then we just, when I moved into Connecticut, so we kept our New York office as a satellite office. Connecticut is sort of like the home office where I do all the marketing, all the operations, all the contracts are done out of here. And then we have another satellite office in Palm City, Florida, where we just opened up an office just because we're getting a lot of calls. It seemed like a lot of my New York and Connecticut friends are moving or relocating to Florida, so I want to serve that market as well. But we're East Coast centric, but I mean, we've done stuff in Arizona, California. I've been to London. I've been to Hong Kong. I mean, I've kind of spanned the globe. I hate to use a worldwide sports quote, but I've kind of spanned the globe in performing in different, I've had the very fortunate opportunity to perform in many parts of the world.
Thinking back of just basically when you started the company and you started hiring talent, about some tips for other MCs that are doing this now. What do you have for tips of advice for anyone branching out?
I think when growing, you have to realize you have to take care of you first. You know, build you as a company, build you as a brand, and then when you start growing, you have to think a little bit differently. You have to think in terms of, okay, what other markets do I want to serve? So if you're really good in the bar mitzvah market and you really want to expand into the wedding market, go find a DJ that has been really successful in the wedding business that wants to work as part of a team, or maybe doesn't want to do all the sales and marketing. They just want to show up and do gigs. They just want to entertain. So I think a good place to do that is, you know, some people say, look at the competition. I think you need to go out and venture more. I think you need to go to clubs, nightclubs. A lot of these DJs are doing nightclub work. I mean, one of the DJs I found that actually, I got remarried 10 months ago, and the DJ that works for me now, I found him in the nightclubs. And he's a fantastic wedding DJ. So I would say try to find DJs that are in the markets that you're not in if you want to expand. When it comes to dancers, I always try to find experienced dancers who really understand the market and understand the dynamics of what people want. And then I want to find lead dancers who can hire junior dancers so they can learn from a model of success. So you always want to find someone who's willing to learn. I would say they're moldable to a degree, but always find people who have that energy level and that passion and desire to succeed like you do. Yeah, one thing I learned in running a company, I run multiple companies, and the one thing I learned is that one person, you know, can be toxic amongst a team. So always try to find people that have the energy level that you have, maybe not to the degree that you have, but have that desire and passion that want to perform. And, you know, you're in the people business, so you're not going to hit it 100%. I think one of my CEO friends says, if you're right more than half the time, you're ahead of the curve. I think trying to hire talented people is important, but trying to find people who are really energetic, that love what they do, is going to be key.
Based on that, in thinking about hiring talent, so you found somebody in a club as an example.
Yep.
So I know a lot of DJs and business owners have philosophies of finding somebody that is very talented already and then kind of working them into the way you do things and want them to work events for you, or having someone that on the opposite end has no experience whatsoever as a DJ, getting the basic training. And then because they have just a great personality going for them already and they're passionate about it. Have you done both cases as far as training, or is it usually someone that's fully trained before you have them work for your company?
I've done both. Okay. and there's pluses and minuses to both. I don't want to sound too gray, but sure. I mean, if you look at truly successful companies that have grown geometrically and have been very, very successful, yeah, sure, they're going to hire talent. They're going to pay top dollar for talent. But I think finding somebody who has that passion and energy and desire to want to learn is so much more valuable than just hiring somebody who's experienced. Now, let me couch that by saying it really depends on where you are in the life cycle of your business. Right? If you're in the growth part of your business, I think you want to find some talented people to help you with that so that infrastructure and kind of that foundation of your business. But if you're at a point in your career where you've had a successful 10 years or 12 years or 15 years, try to find, I don't mean young as an age, but like young-minded, fresh-minded, exciting people. So listen, I don't know how to DJ, and can you teach me? And Jim, you and I know today, teaching some of the techniques of DJing is a little easier than it was when you and I first started, which, you had to actually match up grooves on a record and you had feedback from speakers and bouncing dance floors and bouncing needles. And even today with using records, you still have the problem with bouncing needles and bouncing dance floors. But I think so to answer your question, I found that both have worked, but for where I am in my career, and again, this is the Anthony Conklin view of the world. It's not what you should 100% follow, but what's worked for me is I like to find a balance of, in certain areas, I want to find experienced people, but I think I'm at a crossroads in my career where I want to find young age, but young-minded people who say, like, what can we do that's going to help us be ahead of the curve? Because the one thing in the DJ business is you're amongst the noise, right? You can't call themselves a DJ, right? You got to think in terms of how do you think ahead of the curve? Like, what's the next thing that you can get out in front of everybody from? And that comes with finding people who think like that. Finding independent people.
Like-minded people.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's your key. Like-minded people is the key to helping you grow your business, but also to keep it, to keep it growing in a healthy way. Growth is good, right? But you have to grow healthy. You can't grow and then drop. You have to find that consistency. It's like a roller coaster. You have to just find that consistency, but as long as it's growing.
Talking about learning from your failures and growing from your failures, I think you really need to experience failure in your life in order to grow and become better as a person, as an entertainer, whatever it may be in every facet of your life. Do you follow that same mantra per se, or?
I do.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned that. It's a great point. Failure has to be your best friend. It really does. Because if you don't fail, you're never going to grow and you're never going to learn. And you're either green and growing or ripe and rotting. Right? So green and growing puts you in a position to say, I'm going to grow, but you can't grow without some setbacks or failures in your life. And sometimes it takes for you to again, have that aha moment, like, okay, well, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're failing, then you're not really failing good. If you're going to fail, you got to fail forward. You have to move forward. What can I learn from, okay, well, I shouldn't have hired that dancer because of these things I should have watched out for. Well, I shouldn't have hired that DJ because of these things. Or better yet, I shouldn't have taken that party because of, and then you write these things down. But yeah, I'd say I have failed miserably in the 27 years I've been. I've failed so bad, so hard, but I've learned so much more from it not to make those mistakes again. So the key to failure is fail. What'd you learn from it? And then move on. Don't make that mistake again. That's the only thing in failure. Don't make the same mistake again.
Who are some positive role models for you or people that you look up to? There's probably a long list of them, but I'll give you sort of the top five. The first one that comes to mind is Tony Robbins. I've been a Tony Robbins follower for many, many years, and I think it had a lot to do with some personal things in my life I was facing. I was 18 when I first started following him, and he's 57 years old, so I've been following him a very long time. And I think his story of failing and learning and growing and taking massive action has inspired me. So if I have a go-to person, it's definitely going to be Tony Robbins. And I love a lot of speakers in the sales industry. I love Les Brown. I just love his story. The late Zig Ziglar, Jim Rohn are some people I really admire. Late Jim Rohn. I like Darren Hardy, the original founder of Success Magazine, people who I admire. And I like actors such as Denzel Washington. He had a great quote, and I want to share with you a quote that's been kind of sticking with me for a while. He says, if you hang around a barbershop long enough, you're bound to get a haircut. Meaning, if you stick with something long enough and you're persistent and consistent, you're going to get lucky. And then you're going to get success. It's that chipping away, the compound factor, chipping away, and all of a sudden it clicks in. So, and I always look at those people as positive, motivators. But I think the one that's sort of at the center of all of the things that I've been in my life and learned in my life is I don't know if anybody will guess it, but it was Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson was sort of the core of the reason why I wanted to get into the entertainment business. How else can you sing and dance and be who you want, be who you can be
and not love Michael Jackson. So I think it was the Billie Jean video of 1983 that really sparked me. I was a young buck then.
Yeah.
And just like, this is great. I love it. So he's been at the center of everything that I've wanted to do and wanted to accomplish and continue to accomplish from the entertainment side. Because I learned to dance from him. So I actually learned to do the moonwalk from him. So that was something that always brings a smile to my face, because he's the one consistent go-to entertainer that I think everybody can relate to. Whether you're old or you're young, I think everybody can relate to Michael Jackson. And you put all the controversy of what the press says about what his personal life was, but look at the professional accomplishments that he's given, not only to the market, but it's a gift that he's given everybody. I mean, Bruno Mars, The Weeknd, they all sound a little like Michael Jackson every once in a while, because they all learn from him. So those are my mentors. Hopefully that was a helpful list for you and your listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. And it's good to hear that too. People that had those positive influences on you. Goal setting is big in my life. And whether it's mental notes of what I want to accomplish for the next 6 months or a year, or writing them down specifically. I know a lot of people say, write your goals down, and later they'll become hopefully what you've written down before. Mm-hmm. So do you do a lot of goal setting? And if so, how do you set that up?
That's a great question that could open up a whole nother interview, but I'm a very big believer in writing your goals down, but I'm also a bigger believer in journaling. So I've been keeping journals for 5 years. I usually throw my books away. And for me, journaling and goal setting fall into the same category, because when you journal, you think about, okay, what's going on in your life? So let me give you the secret. Let me give you the sort of secret sauce that I use. Is I journal usually every day. I don't hit every day. Maybe I'll do it 4 days to 7 days a week. But in my journaling regarding goal setting, I already write down that I've accomplished the goal. Like, I've booked, my first speaking engagement, and I was paid $10,000. Right. So what happened was I wrote that goal down with such a belief that it's already accomplished that I actually got that goal accomplished in 1 year.
Okay.
So first $10,000 speaking gig. I mean, I'm not saying to impress you. I'm just to impress upon you the power of writing things down and setting goals. Because, a goal is nothing until you write it down. And I'm not talking about I have 2 phones. It's not about writing in your phone. It's about physically writing it in a book. Because what it does, it sends a transmitter to your brain and it creates a new neural pathway. And things are going to happen. Things are going to happen to you in your life. They're going to pull you towards that goal. So goal setting for me is big. I think you should be very clear about your goals.
Yes.
Not like, hey, I want to lose weight. Okay, well, that's great. Well, then stop eating for a day, right? Or I want to book 5 more gigs next month. That's great. Well, what 5 gigs? You want to do 5 more wedding gigs, bar mitzvah gigs, fundraisers, MC work? Where do you want to do them? What kind of customer do you want? You have to get real specific. And I think
by May 1st, 2017, right. I have lost 27 pounds.
Right. Well, there's a book that I would suggest all of your listeners and viewers to read. It's called the Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Awesome book.
I think everybody would know that book. Any successful person or anybody should know that book. Mm-hmm. And there's an actual chapter that tells you how to journal. It says, by this date, I'll have this amount in this capacity, and it gives you a formula. So goal setting for me is in my journal. And I write them down as if I already accomplished them. And I can tell you, in the 5 years I've been journaling, 90 to 95% of my goals have happened in 1 to 3 years.
That's amazing.
If you take anything away from this great interview, and Jim, I'm so grateful and appreciative for your time, I would just tell people, get a journal and just start writing stuff down and watch the amazing things that will happen in your life. Your life will transform. It will transform.
Well, what are your favorite type of events to do? Do you have favorites?
I tend to love the high energy, high touch, high interactive type of events. If you need someone to DJ a basic party or to MC a basic party, doesn't matter how much money I'll get paid for it. It's just something that I'm not good at. You could get better results from someone else. So type events, me and bar mitzvahs seem to work well. I do have children on my own, so I know what it's like to deal with young children. Mm. It's something that I feel I can spark interest and excitement. It's a good place to help connect with them, but also, so it's my style of emceeing, and for those of you who haven't seen any of my videos, it's educational as well as entertaining. I mean, you want to educate and entertain. They call it infotainment, right? You give information and then you educate them. Well, yeah, infotainment, so it's entertainment and information. So I try to make it fun, educational, exciting, but all around music. Music's universal language. So bar mitzvahs have been big for me. Fundraisers are great too, because I love the excitement of working with a community that wants to raise money for a great cause. I've been very honored to work with Joe Girardi of the Yankees and helping him with his ALS fundraising efforts. That's where I got a chance to meet and work with some great people like Richard Gere, the actor, and some of the members of the New York Yankees. And I've been very blessed to be able to work in that space. And it really was all about having that energy level, have that high touch, that high engagement performance. So if you need me for a bar mitzvah or for a fundraiser, I am definitely your guy. I'm definitely your guy.
That's interesting because bar mitzvahs or bat mitzvahs for me, I want more experience doing those. And I did a lot of research initially when I first started DJing, and the template that I had to use of the way a timeline would go and just opening up the dance floor was from my own MC, who I keep in contact with now, is Keith Allen, and he's, he was an inspiration to me. So we used the video footage of my own wedding is where I started that and creating and saying, okay, this is how to flow and do a wedding based on that. But every event is completely different too, and the format of every event is different. So, and the party's different. So it's a good starting point for me. But then as I moved on and I was looking for information on YouTube or various social media to try to get examples of different ways of doing things and creating special moments, I couldn't find anything that was very good. Usually the bad footage is more prevalent than the good footage.
True.
And so I created Showcasing Your Talents, the Master of Ceremonies, as a way to basically have DJs and MCs just put their stuff out there and get it out there and say, hey, critique me, please. I want to improve, or here's something I feel very proud of. And I'm going to share just here. So it's one place to do this, but I created it with a thought in mind that I want to learn from people I look up to, like Peter Mary, Mike Walter,
right.
And all the other greats that are in our industry. And so that was great to be able to do that and learn from those experiences.
Sure.
So, but going back to the original, topic of what we mentioned in mitzvahs and doing those, that's something that I want to do the same, take a lot of time and research, make sure I know the format, and before going out there, really have to take a lot of care and know what you're doing. So thinking back to the different types of events that you work, what were the most challenging to learn for you?
I think for me it was it wasn't the bar mitzvah business. It definitely wasn't. It was I think the most challenging for me were the weddings. And I'm sure some DJs are out there scratching their head like, really? I think it's because it's a highly emotional time for couples. And I'm talking just weddings today. Couples can be a little finicky and fickle, and I get that. But I think for me the structure, because I tend to be a loose, structured kind of person when it comes to entertaining, because I always try to manage the moments. You can follow the T, right? Success leaves clues, right? So, and there's a success formula, and you either follow the formula to the T, or you follow the formula and interpret it the way you think it should work, right? And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I'm not saying you should do either or, but what was challenging for me was the whole idea of the wedding and the formalities and the bride and groom and the cake cutting ceremony. I just felt it was so structured, and that I felt there was no real place for the energy level and the high energy style that I had that fit in. So what I found is, like attracts like. So the only weddings that I was able to really do well in, and not from a volume side, were people who knew me from the bar mitzvah business, people who knew me from the fundraiser business. So the Voice of God work that I did for Wall Street Boxing, they knew me from that. And it's like, I want that guy because he's got the energy level, and we're going to trim down the formalities, and then we'll do it this way. So I became sort of the non-traditional entertainer. And I think that's what really works. So challenging for me was we're doing weddings. I mean, other parties, I wouldn't say that they're challenging. Christenings and the Sweet 16s are great. But I think for where I wanted to land, to provide the best value to my customer, and also for me to be the best I can be, was finding that high energy, high touch, high interactive type party. And whether you called it a mitzvah, right, or whether you call it a wedding, as long as it fit within that realm, you get the full entertainment experience. And I would do 1,000% for you rather than just doing 90%.
Right, and then that just triggered an idea, the red velvet rope policy. Michael Port talks about that and working with ideal clients. So, and I'm sure then when you meet with couples and they're interested in hiring you for whatever type of event it is, you're basically, you're making a decision about them just as much as they're making a decision about you.
Absolutely. It's the 80-20 rule, right? 80% of your business is going to come from 20% of your customers, and the 20% of your customers are going to be the ones that know, like, trust you, or like your energy, and they get a vibe from you, right? And that's really what it is. I mean, there's two ways of looking at it. If you want to build a small DJ business, well, then you're going to do it a certain way. But if you want to scale and become national, well, then that's different. That's a different approach. Then there's a practical psychology approach where you these metrics to basically create this global business. But in the DJ business, there aren't many national businesses. They're usually local or regional companies that really do well in that market. And I think for what we've done, in the 27 years we've been in this business, is we've been finding the right customers in the right regions that have the right fit for us, and we have the right fit for them. They have the right fit for us. So it's sort of like a perfect match.
It's a perfect match, and you're going to do your best work for those clients that you're the most comfortable working for too. And your performance is going to come across, I believe, too, as more genuine when you're working with those clients.
Absolutely.
So tell me who you got your training from, or who your mentors in the DJ industry, like maybe one to start off with that really helped you start from the beginning of when you were just learning how to do this.
Wow. A band leader that I met many, many years ago, he gave me the idea on how to do a wedding, and showed me how the intros worked. And again, this is going back many years, like 20-something years ago. And he was a band leader. He wasn't even a DJ. So I learned from a non-DJ, which I think gave me a bit of an advantage, because as a DJ, you're more married to the equipment per se. And this is just my observation. You're more married to the equipment and the technicals. Whereas a band leader, they're looking at you. It's all about you speaking. They're hanging on your every word. So I had the real great benefit of working with a gentleman by the name of Joel Krantz. It's called the JK Band. You can find him at the JK Band online. He's been an amazing mentor for me for many years. He gave me the idea around the bar mitzvah market. And I think for the wedding market, for the bar mitzvah market, well, that's sort of a kind of a culmination of just going to different bar mitzvah shows. Now, I started really getting into the bar mitzvah business later on, sort of in the sort of the early 90s. I think 91 was my first bar mitzvah. But I worked with a lot of Long Island. Now, for those of you that are listening that are from Long Island has a very, very different approach to business than literally any other state in the country. I mean, Long Island DJs just have a different feel, different style. They're very much over the top. They're very much about the theatrics. There was one company I worked with. They're no longer around. They're called La Masquerade. And I work with them all over the East Coast. Now, I'm literally in my early 20s. I'm like, this is great stuff. I'm making, $600-700 carrying around crates of records and renting trucks, right? So working with this company called La Masquerade, they really gave me that structure and the basis for doing good bar mitzvahs. So I learned from the best. So I learned from people that are no longer in the industry or have retired from the industry. But I think the one thing I do like is I like seeing some of the new DJs and bringing their style in and their approach, which gives me some things I should be thinking about. Because, when you're in the business a long time, you have to continually reinvent yourself and refine yourself. And, I'm a big believer in social media. I'm a very big believer in high touch online at Facebook, Instagram stories. Very big on LinkedIn. We do a little bit of Snapchat stuff, but our audience is really focused on that Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So I maximize those markets as well. And I'm honored to share a space with guys like Big Daddy. We all know Sean Big Daddy Kane up here in New York, great guy. And people like Serge here in New York, who's done really great stuff. He's younger than me, but he's done some great wedding work. So we all collaborate and we all share with each other and we learn. They say good. I'll leave you with this. So they say good artists borrow from others. Great artists steal from us, right? So you're kind of stealing other people's ideas, but you're making it your own and putting your own spin on it. So I've had the blessing of working with many, many different people. But those three that I mentioned, La Masquerade, JK Entertainment, and Sean, have just been really great mentors for me.
Anthony, what is the best way that the other DJs can get in contact with you or clients if they want to hire you?
Best way to reach me is anthonyace.com. It's anthonyace.com or acemusic.com. It's a little hard to spell. It's ACEMUZIC.com. I'm on Facebook at facebook.com/Anthony.ace. You can also find me on Instagram, which is it's Ace Music 1 and Anthony.ace. I'm literally everywhere. But you can find me mostly on Facebook and Instagram. I'm also on Twitter at Ace Music. And best way to reach me is try to get me on Facebook. I'm always connected. As you can tell, again, I do have two mobile phones. You know, I'm always working, one for my speaking business and one for my DJ business, and also one for my executive business. So I do run 4 companies. So you can really reach me anywhere, but Facebook is probably the quickest way to get to me.
Thanks so much once again, Anthony, for coming on the show.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity. And we'll see you guys next time on the dance floor.
Awesome. Stay tuned next week for episode 19. Take care, everyone.